Welcome back, fans. We're here for another week of IPW Hardcore Professional Wrestling. Let's go to the matches right now. All right, fans, coming out to the ring, there's Frankie Capone. He's followed by Python and the lovely Coral. And here you see Seven. She's leading Ashe Corvan from Wrongful Death out to the ring. And Justice comes out, the painted-up high flyer. This should be a great, great three-way dance, Ron.
When it comes to these three competitors, they don't care what they got to do to use their body as a weapon to take out the other two wrestlers. This is going to be one of the most high-flying, high-impact matches in IPW in quite some time.
And there you see Justice starting out, going up against first Frankie, and then Ashe Corvan. These guys are all three going at it, nobody wasting any time. Ron, we haven't seen any high-flying maneuvers yet, but I'm sure they're still to come as these guys are just feeling each other out right now.
The cameraman did a tremendous job on this match.
Beautiful backdrop onto the ramp.
Unbelievable.
Ashe Corvan getting better and better each and every week here on IPW Weekly Recap. There he takes some punishment from Justice, but this kid, Ashe Corvan, is definitely coming along, Ron.
He just keeps coming and coming. It doesn't matter if he gets a kick right to the face, and Justice goes up for a huge moonsault right onto the ramp.
Beautiful.
And destroys Ashe Corvan.
But no trace moonsaultos, as Ron likes to call him, as he goes after Frankie Capone, but big sit-out powerbomb by Frankie. 2 count only by Gentleman Jim Bragg.
Frankie Capone is one of those guys that just seems to be in the right place at the right time. He's basically in there gathering his bearings while these two guys are killing each other on the ramp. Justice comes in for a huge Hurricane Rana and gets a sit-out powerbomb for his troubles.
Frankie Capone, not known as a high flyer, that was a nice spin kick maneuver on Ashe Corvan there. It drops him right in his face, but Justice is able to get back in the ring, so Frankie can't go for the pin right away. He's got to take care of both these guys before he can try to win the match.
The fans on the outside were getting highly upset when you got two hot goddesses like Coral and Seven on the outside. They're chanting for a cat fight, and they didn't get it. But what they did get is one of the best matches in quite some time.
I'm not sure exactly what Frankie Capone calls that maneuver, but it's put several people out here in IPW. But he does the dirty work, and it looks like Justice is going up to take advantage right here. Oh, beautiful 450 splash. 1, 2, 3. And Frankie Capone did the work, but Justice gets the big finisher, and he's able to win this match here on IPW Weekly Recap. Ron Niemi, where's this guy going, Justice? When's he going to get his title shot at Jaguar?
Justice is making his name and his presence felt in IPW. He is the #1 contender for the Cruiserweight title.
Oh, but he takes a big, big chokeslam sit-out powerbomb there, and we'll be right back. Walking out to the ring, the Miami Pound Machine, Rod Steele. This guy was with NWA Florida, so he's not very well liked here, sometimes in the locker room. But he's bringing out Sage and Aki, just coming back from a 6-month injury. These two guys have feuded in the past, but they did train together, and Rod Steele seems genuinely concerned about his Florida WrestlePlex training mate. He's been out for 6 months at the hands of Mike Sullivan. He's finally coming back, and Rod Steele seems happy to see him.
Rod Steele sticks out his hand to welcome back Sage and Aki to IPW Hardcore Wrestling. You are right, Aaron. These guys went through the WrestlePlex together and trained together, and here comes Mike Sullivan. He may be a member of 911 Incorporated. I'm not going to be held responsible for what he does.
Ron Niemi, this was absolutely one of the most disgusting things I'd ever seen here in IPW Wrestling. Mike Sullivan telling Sage and Aki he should have stayed out of the business and never come back. 3 big left hands by Sage and Aki, and the lowdown there by Rod Steele. And these two guys just cleaned house on your 911 Incorporated mate, Mike Sullivan.
Mike Sullivan's a big man, and he's a former IPW heavyweight and tag team champion. But 2-on-1, he come out to have a little...
Oh, right in the face. That was beautiful.
He comes out to confront Sage and Aki and tell him who the man in IPW Hardcore Wrestling is, and he ends up getting taken out by both of these guys.
2 cruiserweights taking out the former 3-time heavyweight champion, and look at that disgusting maneuver. I'm not sure if he and Mike Sullivan had that planned all along, or if Rod Steele did this totally on his own. He clips an injured knee, injured leg of Sage and Aki, puts on the figure 4 leg lock. I've never seen him use that maneuver. He must have come up with it specifically with this in mind, Ron Niemi.
Rod Steele's the type of guy that doesn't care if he's got to take out Mike Sullivan and start one feud just to continue another. Him and Sage and Aki have been going at it for a long time before Aki's injury, and now he's got 2 irons in the fire. Mike Sullivan, Sage and Aki, they're both coming for Rod Steele.
Von Tankard poking Rod Steele in the eyes, and he gets out of the way. Finally, some people came down to help Sage and Aki. You see Special Ed, Marks out, Von Tankard, all coming down to help their fallen comrade. Rod Steele might have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew here. You don't want to make Sage and Aki mad. I've seen it before. When he gets fired up, he is one heck of a contender to deal with, Ron.
Rod Steele doesn't care how many people he pisses off in IPW Hardcore Wrestling. Rod Steele is here to make enemies and to make a name for himself and to collect championships. He knows to do that, he needs to go through people like Mike Sullivan, and he needs to take the feud with Seiji Niki to a level never seen before.
We're going to see much, much more action from these two individuals over this matter, I can assure you, fans. And we're going to be back right here on IPW Recap in just a moment.
Once again, fans, this is your IPW Commissioner, Honest Eddie Edwards, and this is the IPW Event Center. IPW returns to the Florida WrestlePlex Saturday night, November 24th for the November to Dismember 2001. Already signed. Scoot Andrews versus AJ Styles for the IPW Heavyweight title. The Shane Brothers versus Quickie Mart inside a steel cage. And the Madman Jet Jaguar teams with the Insane Von Tankard as they battle Chaos and David Young. Then IPW invades the Outpost for the very first time on December the 1st. And December the 8th, IPW returns to the Florida WrestlePlex. As always, for the very latest on all these events, be sure to check out
For wrestling, and from somebody who should know, I do hope Seiji Niki gets over his injuries very soon. But I have to bring him in again right now, as much as I don't want to. He's my nemesis here on TV, Ron Niemi. You know, Ron, I would flinch from you again, but I can't move my neck.
Forget that then. So much for the cat-like reflexes, Aaron. So much for the 9 lives. I guess they've all been squashed, haven't they?
Well, after you beat me continuously, much like you got beaten all in this match that all the fans are about to see.
You know, Aaron Royal is obviously somebody to overdo the injury that he suffered at the hands of the hardcore giant Ron Niemi. But Acropolis, you engage in the most brutal ladder match ever seen on the independent wrestling scene with the man himself, the leader of 911 Incorporated, the hardcore giant Ron Niemi. Acropolis, this is just the beginning of this long and violent and bloody feud. You're with Quickie Mart against the Shane Brothers and Ron Niemi. You're finished.
Let's go to the matches. Here we go, Ron Niemi. This is your big ladder match against Acropolis, and you have the better of him right now, and he's a big individual, and I don't see that lasting very long.
Acropolis comes in and starts laying in the haymakers on the hardcore giant Ron Niemi, who sure as hell isn't easy to knock off his feet.
Hey, where'd you go? Where'd you go, Ron Niemi?
He threw me outside the ring like some garbage, and you see who took over when we got back in the ring, the hardcore giant himself.
Yes, thanks to some great editing, you took over very quickly there, Ron. You're choking him on the ropes there. That's quite a technical wrestling maneuver. I can see you learned well from Mike Sullivan and the Shane Brothers.
The Mud Baby Star Stevens was basically appalled, horrified, and impressed by the uncanny wrestling abilities of the hardcore giant Ron Niemi.
As I've said in the past, Ron Niemi, I wouldn't want to be in the ring as you, going with Star Stevens as the referee, the way you constantly put him down, make fun of his boating accident, call him a mud baby. I tell you, I wouldn't ever do anything like that here on IPW TV.
You know something, Aaron? You go to IPWHardcore.com. What was that?
That's IPW-hardcore.com.
See, I'm still a little messed up in the head after this brutal match.
Nice big bump by you, Ron Niemi. That looked like it hurt quite a bit.
See, I was going up that ladder straight up to get the Haliburton that was hanging to the ceiling so I could bash in the brains of Acropolis and take the win that I so well deserve. Acropolis has been sticking the nose in the business of 911 Incorporated ever since his large-breasted hot woman came to the ring outside of the WrestlePlex and had Todd Shane ogling her and drooling all over as she tried to get her hands on his finely sculpted body.
Yes, that's the story you all like to perpetrate. You all say that she wanted Todd Shane. I don't think Acropolis sees it quite that way. You can follow the whole history of this story, not only at IPW-hardcore.com, big bump right there to the ladder on, but you can also follow that on ProWrestlingDaily.com. That's all one word, ProWrestlingDaily.com.
You know, after this sickly, brutal match, Acropolis is down at Extra Innings Ballpark Cafe at 1850 Central Avenue.
Oh, nice low-bow, Ron, right to the McGroin of Acropolis. And there's your big Pee-wee bomb. Boom, right in his back, and this rookie is hurting right now. I hate to say it, but at the hands of the hardcore giant Ron Niemi, and I know exactly how he feels, fans.
Of course he's hurting. He just come from 6.5 feet in the air and power-bombed to the mat and crushed. He was dropped like a bad habit by the hardcore giant.
But what's going on right here, Ron Niemi? I'm sure you remember this better than I do because it was you taking it. Boom, lays you out right there on your back. I'm surprised you can even move after this match, Ron.
Star Stevens not in the least but looking for my welfare, not looking out for what's best for the hardcore giant. I'm down there beaten half to within my life, and Star Stevens down there, he says, "Hey, Ronnie, do you got any funny?"
Any small funny, I thought it was, Ron. And there you see the big Mark, Shannon Rose, outside taking pictures. He'll probably try to talk about all this on his wrestling show that's Pro Wrestling Weekly. Oh, the referee just gets knocked out there by the ladder. But as I was saying, I can't even do our shameless plugs, Ron, because there's too much action going on in your ladder match.
I haven't been the same since Acropolis destroyed me with that ladder to the side of the head. It shocks me to sit here and watch this for the first time. And you see I was taking a well-needed rest there.
Yeah, he clearly had more than a 3 count on you. Heck, he had a King Kong Bundy on SD Jones 5 count going on you right there. But like I said, thanks to special editing, somehow you're on top again.
This match reminds me of the brutal feud that me and Ed the Bull Gattner engaged in the old days of Florida Championship Wrestling, up and down from the East Coast to the West Coast of Florida.
Ron, you were in Michigan when Ed the Bull Gantner was down here.
Nevertheless, as you see me climbing the ladder to the Haliburton, hanging 37 feet above the mat at the...
37 feet? The WrestlePlex isn't 37
That's a
feet.
35-foot ladder, and we're up there exchanging punches. Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon should be at home marking out right now saying, this is the best ladder match I've ever seen. Look at these guys trading haymakers.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what they're doing, Ron, because this is the most technical. Oh, that's nice, Ron. Finally taking your own Haliburton right across the head. Maybe now you see how it feels each and every week when you come in and cheat for the Shane brothers. I would say cheating for Mike Sullivan, but you haven't supported that guy in months, so I won't even bring that up.
When you fall from 48 feet in the air from the top of an industrial-sized ladder, you think that I would be finished, but instead he lays a ladder across my face.
Look at that. He looks just like you're on.
That's the ultimate insult, putting the best hat in the entire college football business, the University of Michigan.
And here they come, Ma and Pa Shane, coming in to save Ron, little baby Ron Niemi. I tell you what, these guys, they may cheat, the fans may not like them, but you cannot take away from their abilities. They're just about to destroy Acropolis right here.
No, they're taking it to Acropolis like they should. Granted, I just fell 57 feet from the top of this ladder, and I'm down there selling like a madman. What am I supposed to do?
And beyond that, Star Stevens had a little too much cough syrup before the match started. He's over there just trying to get woken up. And they have you draped over Acropolis, who had the match won, who beat you to a pulp, but somehow, as always seems to happen, there's chicanery going on, and Ron Niemi gets the pinfall.
Another huge win in the wrestling career of hardcore giant Ron Niemi. Sure, I have a 3-match victory streak over somebody like Naftali.
You didn't ever beat Naftali, and everybody knows it. Ron, who are these pirate guys? It's like Long John Silver and Captain Hook coming in here, just getting totally torn apart by your guys, the Shane brothers.
Arr.
Actually, I believe those are the Cutthroats. They come from another organization. They were coming in just trying to help out against the Shane brothers, but they got their asses handed to them for the trouble. And finally, here comes Quickie Mart to the rescue. The Shane brothers seem to have a lot of trouble with Quickie Mart, Ron.
Now, the Shane brothers are taking it right to Quickie Mart, and if I hadn't just fallen 62 feet, I would be in there fighting against Quickie Mart and Mark Zout, who's on the outside there. I'll give the kid credit. He's smart. He's not going to get in there and mix it up with the Shane brothers. But the Quickie Mart, Shane brother, Ron Niemi, Acropolis feud is getting more and more violent by the week, and on November 24th at the Florida WrestlePlex at 8 p.m., it's going to be taken to all new levels.
Fans, be sure to come to that match at the WrestlePlex, and we're going to be back right here with more action. Cruiserweight title coming up next.
IPW Hardcore
Big time cruiserweight action coming up here, folks. It's Tony Mamaluke from NWA Wildside, a former IPW competitor, former ECW tag team champion, taking on the Florida Unified Cruiserweight champion, 5-time champion here in IPW now, Jet Jaguar.
This would be a main event at any of the independents in the entire country. The cruiserweights are getting taken to a new level. They are in the spotlight all over the world right now. The big so-called independent groups, they might get lost when it comes to that. The so-called major corporations in wrestling, they don't want to acknowledge the little guys. I'm here to tell you that people like Tony Mamaluke, Jet Jaguar, unfortunately AJ Styles from NWA Wildside, Naftali and Jimmy Rave, these guys are some of the best talent in the business. And if I wasn't sitting here enjoying the sweet, savory flavor of a chicken sandwich from Extra Innings Ballpark Cafe at 1850 Central Avenue, St. Pete, I'd be even more upset about it.
Actually, Ron, if you weren't enjoying that chicken, you'd probably be on the phone calling Able Body Temp Service at 727-771-1111.
Well, at least you got the number right this week. We had to get a call from Able Body's corporate office complaining about you.
What?
Actually, why don't I call that number, 727-771-1111, and see if they hire any wrestling commentators out?
Ron, after I come out here week after week with all my injuries and still act like a professional, and for you to insult me like that, I just can't believe it.
These two Malenko trade students throwing double knife-edge chops, European uppercuts, basically taking it to each other. They came through just like we said with Rod Steele and Sejanaki earlier, coming through. Oh my God,
man.
What a vicious suplex. Both of these two wrestlers were trained by the one Dean Malenko at Malenko's wrestling camp. In the exact same class, you had Tony Mamaluke, Jet Jaguar, the Shane brothers, Jeremy Lopez, and Chad Collier, who wrestles all over the entire world. And these are some of the best independent talents and some of the most popular and best-known independent talents in the world right now. You got these two vying now for the Florida Unified Cruiserweight title. And I don't know, Tony Mamaluke, he's known for all these high-risk, death-defying maneuvers. Everybody all over the internet is tearing him apart for the fact that he's going to end up breaking his neck someday. But you see, Aaron, you see with your own eyes the talent this kid got, the mat wrestling. And luckily for us with this type of match, we have the best insurance in Tampa.
Pest insurance.
That's right.
I let you get your line in again, Ron, so be happy. Tony Mamaluke, as good as he was when he was down here in IPW before, has improved by leaps and bounds. His physique is much, much improved. He's getting some more size to him. Obviously still a cruiserweight, but this guy was probably 130 pounds soaking wet when he was here before. Jet Jaguar's never seen this Tony Mamaluke, but he's got the big claw on him that he usually uses at all of the so-called what do you want to call them, the women bars here in the Tampa Bay area. But right now, he's got it on Tony Mamaluke's head.
Jet Jaguar the other night, I call him just to see how the kid's doing. We've been up and we've been down, but I want to make sure that this IPW Cruiserweight title is protected. And I called to see how he's doing, and he's busy watching a match between Baron Von Raschke and Jerry Blackwell from old 1984 EWA wrestling tapes. And you see, that type of research, that type of wrestling knowledge enables somebody to put the claw on out of nowhere. The iron claw, as Fritz von Erich used to refer to it, applied, and now he goes into a, what do you call that, a camel clutch.
That's a camel clutch there on Tony Mamaluke by Jet Jaguar. I don't think Tony Mamaluke's going to submit here, but it might cost him the match later on, weakening his back and shoulder muscles. Right there with the move by Jet Jaguar. Gentleman Jim Bragg trying to check to see if there's a submission, but there's no submission from Tony Mamaluke.
Now, Jet Jaguar, the filthy swine, the most repulsive individual in IPW, can be heard quite often on, what's it called, the steel cage?
The steel cage, Ron, on 10 a.m., 11 a.m., each and every Saturday. And sometimes they even got that hardcore giant guy on there.
That cowhead, Putz, and Ashe are calling me every week, begging me to come on and save their show, because usually they got Nick Bockwinkel up there, or maybe Bugsy McGraw or somebody else who's not quite as eloquent as the hardcore giant Ron Niemi, who can drop in great wrestling references and pop culture references. I'm the type of guy that could talk about Silver Spoons and the Fantastics in the same sentence.
Ron, only you could talk about Silver Spoons and the Fantastics in the same sentence. Big elbow right to the head of Tony Mamaluke by Jet Jaguar. He was having some trouble earlier in this match, but IPW's own Jet Jaguar taking full control at this time.
Now, Jet Jaguar has been banned from, what did you call them, the women bars? I call them the titty bars. Get it straight. The strip joints.
I'm sorry, I forgot we were on at 2 a.m.
Yeah, you could get away with that type of stuff. Now, you're too busy hanging out at the Velvet Spike with Shannon Rose, but Jet Jaguar has been banned from all the adult entertainment establishments throughout Florida because of his repulsive behavior. He comes in there with about $201 bills. Huge! Throws them off of there. What do you call that?
That was a push him off the top rope deal.
That was what they called the Mamaluke throw him down.
The Mamaluke throw him down. Okay. Commentary is only Rod Niemi can bring you here on IPW Weekly Recap. But more serious matters at hand here as Jet Jaguar is not only trying to keep his title, but he's trying to keep it for the good of IPW, going up against this NWA Wildside competitor. Sit down here basically as a bounty hunter by one Bill Behrens. Well, you're going to have to send a lot more than one guy down here, Bill Behrens, to take out IPW.
Now, Bill Behrens and NWA Wildside have decided to jump on the IPW hardcore wrestling bandwagon. Sure, they started some bloody and violent feud. All they're doing is trying to steal our heat and trying to steal the rolling train that they call IPW. You got Shannon Rose on Pro Wrestling Weekly every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on 10:40 a.m. right here in Florida, and he's got people like Bill Behrens.
Oh, nice pile driver by Jet Jaguar. That move used to be banned down here in Florida, but after Jerry Lawler went and complained after he pile drove Kerry Von Erich and lost the match by DQ and didn't get that world-class title to put with his AWA title, and he went to the board of directors in Florida, and they finally
Will you
changed that
settle
ruling.
down already? My God, next thing you know, you'll be bringing up Coach John Heath and everybody else that nobody cares about. Charity King
Makan Singh?
What?
Makan Singh?
Well, no, just see, if you're going to talk about the great Asians that ever came through Florida Championship Wrestling, you got to talk about Bad News Allen.
Bad News Allen was one bad man down here, held the Southern and Florida titles at the same time. That was an unheard of feat down here. Not even Jesse Barr did that.
It was not only unheard of, but he was the only man that could refer to two guys as Barry Winless and Lex Luger, two Bill Belly sharecroppers.
That's true. He had memorable feuds down here with Kevin Sullivan and everybody else. But if you don't stop me right now, Ron, I could talk about old Florida wrestling forever. But right now I want to talk about that big missed flying body press there by Tony Mamaluke, and he's holding his gut. It looks like that hurt him quite a bit, and hopefully Jet Jaguar can take advantage right here.
Gentleman Jim Bragg down for the 2.5 count, and you got to give the gentleman credit with that horrible problem he's had with the constipation going on for weeks now. For him to come in here.
Oh, beautiful powerbomb by Jet Jaguar. Not to cut you off there, Ron, but that is what I've been doing lately. So I guess it's nice just to keep it going.
Now I'm sitting here trying to get over the fact that Jim Bragg has a horrible medical condition and hasn't defecated in over 2 weeks. But he took just one shot of KO Pectate, comes in the ring, and he's right there for another 2.5 count.
And look at this, David Young, one half of the former 5-time NWA Tag Team Champions. Bad Attitude comes in the ring. He's also from NWA Wildside, and he comes in and just starts tearing apart Jet Jaguar. Two guys from Wildside now on Jet Jaguar.
David Young is probably one of the toughest wrestlers in the business. Excellent technical mat wrestler, but also one of the most violent, sickest, hardcore wrestlers in the country right now. He's engaged in some of the most bloody and violent matches with New Jack and Wildside ever seen.
That was sick stuff, Ron Niemi.
And now he comes in and decides to lay the boots to Jet Jaguar.
And Tony Mamaluke taking exception. He is from NWA Wildside, but he has a lot of respect for Jet Jaguar. He wanted to win this title legitimately. And the two NWA Wildside guys, we love to see this, Ron. Two Wildside guys going at it.
How come the NWA contingent? Wow!
Oh!
What do you even call that? What is that, a reverse atomic drop into a spine buster? I've never seen it before. David Young, like I said.
And he's spitting all over the ring like he's got skull stuck down in his mouth. I'm sure he does, being up there from Hicksville at Wildside. But he's tearing apart both these cruiserweights right now. David Young, one of the toughest individuals in wrestling. But when Jet Jaguar and Tony Mamaluke finally recover from this, I think he's going to have hell to pay.
David Young might come in here and spit on Mamaluke, and he might spit on Jet, but basically who he's spitting on is IPW Hardcore Wrestling. And he might have a plug of tobacco in his lip, but that ain't going to cut it here.
No, it's not, Ron, but look at this guy still continuing to take out two very, very top wrestlers, two of the top cruiserweights in the business. Granted, he did it on Jet Jaguar from behind, and he did it after they've been going at each other for over 20 minutes. But nonetheless, this guy's about to clean house in the ring. Gentleman Jim Bragg, especially in his condition, doesn't even want to get in the ring.
Jim Bragg, what I have a problem with, sits
Well,
there and watches
here comes
this.
chaos, Ron. We all saw what happened as he got torn apart by Bill Behrens and that tennis racket in the cage.
What the hell's he doing?
He goes, once again, this guy's becoming a bigger turncoat than Lex Luger during his whole career. These two guys giving the high forearms. That's the former chaotic cult sign. I'm not sure if this is a sign of things to come or what, Ron, but now you got two of the most brutal individuals in all of independent wrestling tearing up two guys half their size just for the sheer mayhem of it all.
Chaos obviously isn't happy with the situation IPW
Look at that,
Hardcore.
shades of the Sheik there as he's biting the head of Jet Jaguar.
First he's hanging out with Howard Brody, now Bill Behrens. What's wrong with Chaos? What do we got to do to prove to this guy IPW Hardcore Wrestling is where it's at? He's turned on us more times than I even care to admit.
I don't know, but hanging out with guys like Howard Brody and Bill Behrens, you got to wonder whether that leather is really about a biker bar or something else altogether. And there you see Shannon Rose just sitting there dumbfounded like he usually does. Hey, Shannon, don't go get any help for these guys or anything. Just sit there and get some material for your website, you moron.
Shannon, please, whatever you do, don't get any help, and even worse yet, don't you dare go in there and actually fight like a man. Stand there and see, there's Jim Bragg. A man. Stand there and see, there's Jim Bragg. He wouldn't be getting choked down
doing
like
his
this.
best Nick Patrick as he's sitting there getting into the action, getting choked out by Chaos. Tony Mamaluke able to rescue Jet Jaguar there from the ring. You saw they came in as opponents, but these two just got a brutal beatdown from David Young and Chaos, and they're just trying to get out of the ring, help each other to the back, and recoup for another day.
I hate to say it, but after Jim Bragg was choked and attacked by Chaos like that, he no longer is suffering from that medical condition.
Well, Ron, I thought there was something amiss in the air that night, but I was back in the back room doing the play-by-play. I didn't know for sure. And Tony Mamaluke and Jaguar crawling back into the ring. It looks like they might want to finish their match, but there's no way after that beating. And there you see those two guys. They're enemies, but at the same time, they have a lot of respect for each other. And we're coming down to the end of this week, Ron Niemi. I want to finish up the show with you, but my neck's really hurt, and I got to go take some ibuprofen. So I'm going to leave the rest of the show to you, Ron, right now.
That was just another week of IPW Hardcore Wrestling recap. I'm sorry, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. You used to have the best ladder match in the history of wrestling. Now the Hardcore Giant and Acropolis hold that distinction. Right here in IPW Hardcore Wrestling, Saturday night, November 24th at the WrestlePlex, you're going to see some of the best wrestling action in the entire world. AJ Styles and Scoot Andrews will meet for the IPW Heavyweight title. Next week, IPW Hardcore Wrestling recap. I hope Aaron Royal can make it back.